Hello, my customer success friends. Irit Eizips here for CSM Practice, the customer success strategy consulting firm. And today we have another podcast episode. This time we're going to focus on what AI tools can do for your customer support and possibly also customer success. And I have a very special friend of mine, Boaz Arbel here, who's the co-founder and CRO of Worknet, that specializes in AI tools for customer support. So he knows a lot about it, works with a lot of different companies on enabling AI to amplify the support. And today we're going to squeeze everything he knows about it so that you can leverage that type of technology as well and make a huge difference in your organization.
Thanks for having me, Irit.
You're the co-founder and CRO of Worknet. That's a GenAI pilot for support and CS systems. You founded a community that's very vibrant, and thank you for inviting me to it a few years ago. And it's called ICSEF, which is essentially stands for the Israeli Customer Success Executives Forum. And you're the go-to-market advisor for startups and self-defense sensei. Do tell.
That's part of who I am. I teach jiu-jitsu and self-defense, mainly for women.
Oh.
I'm a big believer on everyone needs to be strong and confident. That's customer success 360, whatever I do in my life, professional or out of work.
That's awesome. You know, I find that the most successful and happiest people are the ones that have like another thing that they're passionate about that they do outside of work. I think it just gives us an outlet to be a winner, even if work is not so successful. So it creates a nice balance. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Besides that, he has more than 20 years of experience working in the workforce. I met him when he was a customer success executive. He also managed large support teams. I'm very, very excited to bring him here and teach us a few things of where is the market going and what's the trend and what should we be very cognizant of as we go forward in the next 3 years and how we can leverage AI tools to amplify support. And I think, Boaz, you also have some examples for us to show us how AI tools can amplify Zendesk, for example, or any support solution.
That's correct. And thank you very much for the personal introduction, the professional introduction. And I'll be happy to share what I know about GenAI, specifically in the world of customer success and in particular in support, because I think that's something that is already impacting a lot of areas in life, but specifically at work. And I'd like to share this knowledge and to get my peers, professionals ready and able to be ahead of the curve and improve their service level and efficiencies, because I think that's the name of the game, those two areas, especially in this economic period now of difficulties, the need to save, the need to do more with less. You have to be better at your service and preserve your customer portfolio, but also be efficient. Is it growing and being able to scale? So to do more with the same staff that you have, or to layer down, keep on doing the same work with less people. So either way, you have to be efficient.
That's a very strong message towards the end of 2023, where the market is not at its best at the moment. And so if you as a leader can demonstrate how you can do more with less or more with the same or better results with the same, all the power to you. And I have heard other customer success executives and CCOs doubling down on the customer experience. And with that, I wanted to ask you, Boaz, you work with multiple companies on amplifying their customer support initiatives. What do you see are some of the common challenges these days for customer support leaders that are not using AI solutions?
I would start with the positioning of support in the organizations. It's typically being perceived as reactive, as a must-have necessity to support our customers. And I'd like to change that. I'd like to put you, support managers, in a way better positioning, in a way more contributing role and way more proactive as much as possible. And GenAI can help you get there, because the bigger the stake you take in the game, the better position you have, the more responsibilities you may get. And with new technologies like GenAI, you can relatively easily get there. It's just that you need to be proactive and pursue this technology and applications. Challenges varies from lazy customers. Customers do not want to get anymore a link to a knowledge page and go and read and figure it out yourself. They even don't have the span of attention to watch a 2-minute video anymore. They just don't. And it's all of us. And I'd prefer a vendor that will tell me what to do in a 1, 2, 3 action plan rather than send me somewhere to educate myself. No, you just, moreover, if you can do it for me, even better. So,
okay, so one is we still do it like 1990, where we send them either a knowledge-based article, or we do it like 2010, where we send them a video. But you're saying the consumers now of information, or the end users, are expecting a different level of experience. Their attention span is much, much lower. And what they want is a checklist with 3 steps or whatever, like saying just, okay, do this, this, and that. Be very, very prescriptive. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. Be prescriptive, be short and to the point. TLDR, the too long didn't read, became part of our life in everything, especially in support now. We have to be to the point and do it for them as much as possible. This is one of the challenges for support organizations today.
And when you say do it for them, you mean digest the content for them?
Exactly. Now, you are touching on the second point I wanted to talk about, and that's availability of knowledge. Because typically, we have a lot of information spread up across the organization. It's just the ability to convert that from an information to knowledge. And not always it's very structured, for sure not for the customer, but sometimes also for us, the associates, the support agents. We have to do the heavy lifting of gather it from here, put it together, word it together, and then send it out, which sometimes you realize that these questions are being asked a lot, and it's just an unnecessary work as long as we have the supportive technology to save this time and to save this heavy lifting of just basic things. GenAI can also do some more sophisticated resolution for you rather than just summarize a knowledge page, come back to the customer. But one is you need to be short and to the point. Second is availability of information to become knowledge to help the customer. Third is overall, customers now wants to talk less and less with a representative. And I'm not just saying to verbally talk, but even to chat as much as they can do themselves, low touch or tech touch. They would prefer, even if us as vendors would like to have a so-called high touch, because we want to feel the customer. For that, why wouldn't we allow GenAI to help us with some sentiment to analyze how the customer is? What are they using? What are they saying? What do they think? How often they reach out, etc. And that can help a lot. Would that replace the human factor? By all means, not at all. But it changes the way customer experience is delivered and served. So my thoughts on that so far.
Essentially what you're saying, the challenge for support executives and support teams at the moment is that the expectations and attention span of end users and the way that they want to consume the solution or resolve the solution has changed drastically. And the challenge is that for the most part, with the old traditional support model, we can't solve for that. And so we're creating a gap between end user preference and experience requirements versus what we can actually deliver. What do you think would happen to companies that are not addressing this change in end user culture, for lack of a better word? Like 3, 5, 6 years down the road, I have not addressed that. What do you think is going to be the impact?
It's quite clear that the impact would be drastic to companies who are not catching up with the trend, and they'll just be left behind. It's easier today than ever to switch between one vendor to another, between one technology to another. And what wins is the added value that you get from your vendor. And secondary, the experience you get. But added value now is the king. So you have to be quick to deliver this value in a way that the customer wants to consume it. One of the leading changes, I would say, is the old-fashioned one-stop shop or the focal point for the customer to get anything they need, rather than consume service and the support from different touch points in the organization.
Lincoln Murphy is one of the biggest thought leaders in customer success, has always pitched that to deliver customer success, you not only need to bring the outcomes, meaning solving the issue, but you also need to do it with the appropriate experience. So desired outcome and appropriate experience. And I think what you're saying is that the market has changed. What end users are perceiving as an appropriate experience, their standards for it has drastically changed in the last few years because of the availability of technology and generative AI. And so if we're not catching up to that, our customer experience is going to be lacking, and thereby MRR, ARR, company revenues, profitability is going to suffer, and essentially customers are going to vote with their feet. You also talk about how support organizations should step up and deliver more value, not just to clients and like an appropriate experience, but also internally. You said, customer support organization need to change the way they are perceived inside the organization. If I quote you correctly, can you elaborate a little bit? What do you mean by that? How the heck generative AI is related?
Customer support or support organizations today is being perceived as the necessary evil sometimes and very reactive. I would like to suggest a different approach and way more proactive based on what you already get, the information you get, because you get a lot. It's just the inability or the difficulty to translate the input of the information, sometimes very intangible for a support rep that has to answer 50 tickets a day, to convert that into a business-like insights and understanding, which generative AI can help. For example, upsell and cross-sell opportunities. If a support rep is brought up from day one as a reactive, just answer what they are asking you for, and do not have the business orientation, they will not deliver on that. One, enhance your reps to be more business related, but let GenAI translate hints and information that the customer is ready for expansion, is looking for additional services or solutions, maybe mentioning your competitors' names, and that can be used kind of a red flag to be escalated to someone else. Now, I do not want to count on the support rep or agent to raise the flag themselves if they're not oriented to that. Let the system do it and put a beacon on someone's radar. It can be the account manager, it can be the customer success manager, it can be your shift leader of the sentiment is bad or deteriorating as we're going through the ticket and the support flow here, and someone needs to jump in, either to save the service that I'm giving or to take advantage on a upsell opportunity that just came up. So these are the topics the areas you can use in order to upgrade your positioning into the company.
A few years ago, I think it was like 2018, as old as that, I attended this presentation by one of the TSIA's practice leaders for the expansion selling. And he said something smart. He said, for you to amplify, like increase MRR, create effective land and expand strategy, you have to create listening posts throughout your organization so that when somebody mentions, like you said, cancellation of an agreement or a competitor or potential interest in another module, first of all, it's documented somewhere and it's not lost in emails, but it also routes itself into a system where all these notifications exist and they ping the right person, so that now there's like a chain of accountability for somebody to actually take action. I think it was difficult to do, and it was very manual and human driven. Will the support rep actually take that step after they finish a call and really identify the trigger and be trained around that, and then log into another system and log that listening moment to alert somebody else in the organization and hopefully get the right person? Using AI sounds like that kind of like solves that issue. If you have it set up correctly and all the systems are being integrated properly, we can actually solve for it by using automation.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I want to give an example for that. So we are asking so much of our support agents to do a lot. They need to be superhumans now. So why don't we help them to help us? So for example, what you said, you end up a long back and forth ticket with the customers, and it's up to the technology or the nature of the product you have, but sometimes it can last for, unfortunately, days. You ask the agent to summarize the sentiment of the customer. That could have changed from very optimistic at the beginning to very disappointed in the middle when things were not resolved so fast, and super happy at the end when they realized that they not only solved the problem, but also helped us land a new feature request. So how would you know? With this, you can get automatic categorization by GenAI that can, along the way, just plant things like sentiments, things like what is the ticket or the Slack thread is talking about. So that's why I call it a co-pilot. It's like you have another right hand that is watching and very smart, watching over what you're doing, and just extract the most important things for you and for the organization. Another implication for that, for product managers, they would like to know what are the customers talking about. So why don't we derive some insights from the support by nature conversations here into what product managers want to know? What are they happy about? What are they less happy about? What do they want? What is missing in the product, etc. So these are all examples.
We shared a ton of examples of how generative AI can reshape the perception of the support team, change the way that the value that they bring to the organization, and also change the way that they communicate solutions back to end users. Boaz, you work with so many different companies. Perhaps we can take what we talked about so far, how generative AI can impact the way that support teams are working. And you can kind of show us some examples of how you help those companies leverage Gen AI to enhance and optimize the way they work.
Yeah, just to share some examples of how Gen AI can help you. In this example, over a Zendesk, it works on any other support platform as Salesforce, Service Desk, HubSpot, Jira, you name it. So an example for that would be a few applications, a few features that are native to the platform where you work at. And things can be as simple as, rather than the rep answering a very simple answer like on it, why don't we present a professional reply upon the company's style in something like, thank you for reaching out, I have received your request and I'm currently working on it. I will provide. And this can be very contextual, not just a simple macro to include everything that is needed, and it saves the agent a lot of time, especially if English is not the mother tongue, especially if the culture is not the one that you'd like to apply. And using this can give you a good understanding. Another example is Ask Me Anything, an AMA. That can replace the shoulder tapping of the old days of working from office. And hey, can you help me with the Wi-Fi setting on Mac, for example? If I need anything that was discussed in the past, something that I can just get a hint or a reminder of the most recently released information about that, the agent don't have to remember that anymore. I should have a co-pilot to ask and help me with anything. So I just free text what I need and I'll get an answer. Another example is, okay, I am serving my customers here and the customer is asking me a question. They opened a ticket for me to answer rather than me going out now, searching through the whole troubleshoot progress. Why don't I let the GenAI do it for me? Because this has already been probably answered 100 times. Why don't I just take advantage of that, copy text, and it's ready for me? Now, I always, for now, still keep the human in the loop and let them an opportunity to review the text, to enhance it if needed. And if that works fine, just send it out. Or I can always refine. If my customer is now in South Korea and I needed Korean, I can refine that and answer the customer in their own language or any other language I need. So these are just a few examples of how GenAI can help us, including I've submitted that, and it's a new topic. Let's create a knowledge-based article out of that and not have maybe me at the end of the shift going through, out of the 30 tickets I did, I have to remember that 2 of them talked about something new, and now I have to generate a knowledge article, which I will probably not do. I have it here as a title and in a format that is ready to be reviewed by enablement expert to convert that to a knowledge article. So these are a few examples of how GenAI can work for us. It is progressing on a weekly base. It's like an arm race here of who would find the best solutions, the best implications to what you support managers need. And that's exciting. And my advice to you, support managers, be ahead of the curve. Enjoy the learning. Just seek for more and more options.
Wow, that's thrilling to see how advanced it is already. What do you think the future holds for GenAI and support teams?
I'm not sure that anyone can predict anything longer than 2 years ahead of us. Things are changing so fast that if anyone predicts anything for longer than 3, 4, 5 years, I don't know how serious you can take that. But I would like to look at the next 2 years. Okay, if we can predict that we are here today and we'll go that direction, probably the fast and the most simple implementations would be an expansion help. So what I showed you, the on it. So I'll just type something that I think at the very basic language that I have in any language that I want, and this will convert it into a professional, holistic answer based on the company's culture, orientation, tonality. So that's already here. You can use it in OpenAI ChatGPT, but that would be disconnected from where you live and work. And what we recommend is bring it in to your environment. The same goes for summary. So you have finished a long ticket on Zendesk or a very long back and forth thread in Slack. You would like to be able to concise everything to a short summary to include the content, the sentiment, the tagging of automatic categorization. What is the status? What are the action items? So at the end of this, okay, just TLDR. What do I have to hit and get there? Moving on to a knowledge-driven response. I don't want to come up with a response. I don't want to do the heavy lifting of set up everything every time from scratch. Suggest me an automatic response. I would recommend For the time being, until we get 100% confidence in the answers, keep the human in the loop. Let that agent review the answer, enhance it with a human touch. By the way, good Gen AI solutions will learn out of it, and the next answer that will be recommended to you will include these touch inside. So that's the beauty of it. Moving on, customer data-driven response. So that would be, let's connect to all the other systems in the organization and do what we do today manually. We troubleshoot, we go and look for the customers, we impersonate the customer in our system. GenAI can do it for you. We look into the logs to troubleshoot what you did. GenAI can do it for you and actually cut the manual steps that you're doing today and already bring it forward to either form the response or, even better, solve the issue. If you're using that, you can then absolutely take advantage of upsell and cross-sell beacons that show up on your radar. Maybe today you cannot read it or you cannot connect the dots, but technology can do it for you and make you suddenly a growth engine because you recognize either signals for churn or opportunities for growth. And then it's re-involving back the human, the experts in the loop, because by all means, GenAI will not fully replace minds or senses. Good implementation of GenAI would be to call the relevant expert, to call the teams in when it got to its limitations and when it's needed. So if I just look at the next 2 years, I would say this is probably where we are heading. And I'm calling you support leaders to be ahead of the curve and seek for GenAI solutions for your service today.
I love it. If I had to guess what the impact of all of this would be is more self-serve type of tickets, self-resolved tickets and technology issues, reduction of repetitive tickets drastically, reduction in backlog. And that just means that T1 support agents then have more time to generate either content or learn how to be a level 2, level 3 type support engineers, which is much more exciting. And we know that today most organizations have a little army of T1s because there's like a flood of potentially support tickets that needs to be handled. But if we can at least accelerate the time to resolution or make more of those self-serve, then we can actually focus on training our team to be more sophisticated and have a larger T2, T3 that's more cost effective. That's kind of like what I see.
You are spot on. That's exactly it. Let's help tier 1 and tier 2 to speed up the responses, to fine tune. Why would we need 3 touch points back and forth with customers if we can hit it on the head in 1 touch point and be more efficient, do more with less, and help the customers to be happier and see more value?
Oh, fascinating stuff, Boaz. I learned a lot. I hope everybody that was watching this video learned too. It kind of like expand your mind, what can be done, how you can improve and optimize your own organization with Gen AI. And if you're any way, shape, or form curious about how to do it in your own organization, Boaz is the expert here. Please reach out to him. He'd be more than happy to talk to you. And with that, it's a wrap. Big love for me. I'll see you at the next video.